Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Let's Be Honest with Peter Kozodoy, the live stream show that's bringing you experts, thought leaders, and leaders in their own lives and businesses who understand the power of strategic, brutal honesty. And if you have not gotten your copy of Honest to Greatness, it is now out and available everywhere books are sold in hardcover, which is pretty kick-ass, and an ebook. So I hope you grab one of those. Today, I have an individual that I have been following for years. He was a thought leader and writing for incredible publications long before I was. So he probably didn't even know that I had looked up to him before we kind of got into the same circles. Mr. Josh Steimle, how you doing, man?
Doing fantastic. Thanks for having me on, Peter.
Oh, it's absolutely my pleasure. So, Josh, take 3 to 4 minutes. Tell everyone who you are, what you do, what gets you inspired.
Well, I guess my background story is that I started a little marketing agency back in 1999 while I was a college student, and we fumbled our way forward for a number of years. And in 2013, quite a few years later, I got the opportunity to start writing for Forbes, and that opened a lot of doors. It opened doors to other publications. I ended up writing hundreds of articles for 24 different business publications. I was able to do a TEDx talk. I got paid to speak. I got a book deal. And so it just opened this whole world of thought leadership and personal branding and all this stuff. I didn't know what it was before. I had never heard of personal branding or thought leadership. But it thrust me onto that stage, and I absolutely loved it. I loved the opportunity to get out and talk to people. And that turned into maybe I could help other people to do this too. And so I started a second business, and now that's what I do is I help entrepreneurs to publish nonfiction business books. So when an entrepreneur says, "Hey, I've got all this knowledge locked up in my head, I want to get it out there," then I partner with them and we get their book written and published and out there and promoted so that it can do good in the world. And that's really what inspires me, is to work with people who have these amazing experiences, and most of them don't think it's worth that much. They don't know why anybody would want to know what they have in their head, and yet it's so valuable what they've got, and that inspires me. And I love cracking that nut open and getting that knowledge out there.
It's so crazy, Josh. I don't know if you agree that today in our digital world, being an author of a book, a stack of paper, is still actually really meaningful in a world where nobody seems to read anymore. I mean, it really actually still does matter that you're an author. I've seen it open doors for me. I mean, do you agree?
Yeah, somebody said a business or a book is like a business card on steroids, and that's totally true. Once you have a book, you just have this credibility and people respect you, even if they haven't read the book, they don't know what it's about, just the fact that you have a book. And having written a book myself, and you know this, having written a book, I have so much mad respect for anybody who's written a book, even if it's a terrible book, because I know how much work goes into it. It is a ton of work. And that's part of why we respect and give credibility to people who have written a book, is we know that that's not something you just do on a spare weekend.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think we honor more that they were able to keep their attention for that long than anything else, perhaps. So, Josh, take us to a time in your career and all the projects that you've done, and share with us a moment where you had to get brutally honest with yourself. What happened? What did you do? And what came of it?
When I started my business in 1999, I thought, well, I need to bring on partners who can help me. And so I did. I brought on some partners, but I did it too fast and I didn't vet these people and I didn't think through it. And so I made some partnerships that weren't the right partnership. And it wasn't that these people were bad people or dishonest. It was nothing like that. It was just a mismatch.
Hmm.
And that ended up costing me my business. And so when I kind of rebooted, I swore I will never have partners again. And so I restarted my business and I thought, well, now I'm free. I don't have those partners holding me back. Everything's going to be great. And I rebooted and my business basically failed its way forward for the next 10 years. And it got to the point where I realized maybe I'm not that good at running a business. Maybe I'm not who I thought I was in terms of being this great leader and this great executor. And it got to the point where I realized I need to bring on another partner. I know I swore I would never do it, but I've got to bring on a partner. And so I did. And that partner was Corey Blake. And you and I chatted with him last week. But I brought on Corey, and that freed me up to focus on what I was good at, while Corey took care of things I wasn't good at. And the year after I brought him on as a partner, we grew 1,400%. And we went on to turn our business from a little agency making hundreds of thousands of dollars to an agency that had offices around the world making millions of dollars a year. And so that was a hard pill to swallow for my ego, but it worked out well for my pocketbook.
Sure. No, that's fantastic. And we can never be too careful with the people we surround ourselves with, right? Or too thoughtful. So that's, I think, a lesson that people need to take stock of, not only in their professional lives, but also in their personal lives. I talk in the book about how do you get honest about who you've chosen to be in your inner circle and who you've chosen to lift you up, and getting rid of, energy vampires and all the things that come along with that. So Josh, what would you say was your biggest win that you still today are most proud of? And then share with us a biggest loss.
I think the biggest win is not so much something that I accomplished, but something that I got lucky, or I can give the credit to my wife, which is the fact that we're still together after 21 years of being married while I've been running a business that whole time. And frankly, in the early years, I was not a good husband, and it was kind of a mess. I mean, I just worked all the time. I was working 100-hour weeks for years. And thankfully, my wife stuck by me, and we're still together, and our marriage is better than ever. But for me, that's the biggest win, to come out on this side of things 20 years later and still have my family intact. Because if I had succeeded in business, but I had lost my family, like, who cares?
What's the point?
Yeah, what's the point? What would the business success be worth? That's tiny stuff compared to family stuff. And in terms of loss, it's really the same thing. I just regret all the years that I thought I had to knock myself out working to have a successful business. Because the funny thing is, once I gave up on my business and kind of said, I'm giving up, I'm throwing in the towel, I'm not going to do these 100-hour weeks anymore. I'm going to do 40-hour weeks. I'm going to spend time with my family and not work weekends. That's actually the exact point when the business started succeeding. And the funny thing is, when I was working 100-hour weeks, I had unlimited time, or at least it felt like unlimited time, which meant I had time to make a lot of mistakes. When I restricted myself to 40 hours a week, I didn't have time to make mistakes anymore. I had to get serious about the business, and that's when everything got fixed.
Yep. I love that message so much. I think so often entrepreneurs think it's just a matter of hustle or do more or work harder. And I don't know about you, Josh, but all of the most successful entrepreneurs I know in my circles, folks I've met through EO and all kinds of other organizations, they're on the, like, how do I work 2 hours a day train? And many of them have succeeded in that. And to your point, it focuses them. It's not about, hard at all. And I hate when entrepreneurs say that. Yeah, I'm just going to work my way through it. It's like, good luck. I mean, I think I'm going to be done at 3 today. So it's okay.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. So my biggest loss is just that I didn't learn that lesson earlier.
Yeah, well, I didn't either. So maybe you and I should have had a better mentor in the beginning, but
better late than never.
We got there. Yeah, exactly. That's fantastic. So Josh, tell us where people can follow along with you and learn about MWI, and where would you like them to go for more information?
Sure. So my website is joshsteimle.com, but nobody can spell my last name. So I've got a giveaway. Like I said, I help entrepreneurs to write nonfiction books or their first business book. And I have a quick start guide, and you can get it by just texting 55444. Just text anything to that number, and or text your name to it, and you'll get a link, and you can download that guide to get you started on writing and publishing your book.
I mean, what's that number one more time?
55444.
Fantastic. Folks, I've talked to many people out there who have been interested in writing a book. Josh has just given you a free way to get into that with all his knowledge and experience and writing for Forbes and all this other stuff. So take advantage of it. Josh, thank you so much for being on the show, man. It's really good to catch up.
Thanks, Peter, for having me on.
It is my pleasure. Folks, if this is interesting, you hear people over and over again have to get honest with themselves about where they're at, about what it takes, about how they need to change themselves. If that's interesting to you, go pick up your copy of Honest to Greatness, available everywhere books are sold, and come join the movement with folks like Josh and myself and everyone else who's been on the show. Josh, thanks again. And until next time, I'm Peter Kozodoy. Thanks for being honest.